What's up, Podfic Listeners? Today I'll be reading Life is Ruff, but I'm so fortunate to have met you. This one is from an orphan account, but I'll still link it in the description below, so be sure to still leave a kudos, that way future readers know that the story is well loved. And here's the summary. Yamada Hizashi is a dog person. Aizawa Shouta is not. Aizawa Shouta is, however, irrevocably in love with Yamada Hizashi. This, in turn, is how Aizawa Shouta and Yamada Hizashi happen across adopting a neglected Midoriya Izuku. A neighbor's AU where little baby Izuku walks Hizashi's and Shota's dog and subsequently gets adopted. Now on to chapter 1, titled Mr. Hizashi and Mr. Shouta. Aizawa Shouta was very much so not a dog person. That being said, his husband Yamada Hizashi very much was. It had started out as a teasing argument. Hizashi would mention wanting to get a puppy, and Shouta would remind him that puppies were a lot of work. Hizashi would show Shouta images of adoptable dogs at their nearby animal shelter, and Shouta would remind him that they already had 2 cats. Hizashi would beg and whine and plead, and Shouta would roll his eyes and put his foot down. It wasn't until later that Shouta realized that no, Hizashi wasn't just teasing. It was on a late patrol one night that Shouta decided, after much debate with himself, that his husband deserved the happiness a dog would bring him. Shouta himself, after all, was very content with both of their stray alley cats he'd drag home from work. Besides, a puppy couldn't be that much to handle, not like an actual child or something. And so, on their mutual day off, a rare occasion that happened only once or twice per month, Shouta told Hizashi to get in the car. "Where are we going?" his husband asked, jumping around in his seat like an excited child. It took everything Shouta had to keep the smirk off his face. "It's a surprise, Hizashi." "But you hate surprises." "Yeah, but you like them." Hizashi was already beaming, and they weren't even at the shelter yet. When Shouta pulled the car up into the shelter's parking lot, Hizashi very nearly burst into tears. He had thrown his arms around Shota's neck, hugging his husband tightly and peppering his face with kisses, before throwing himself out of the car and into the front doors of the shelter, dragging poor Shouta behind him. "We're here to see the puppies," Hizashi called to the teenager at the desk, and it was only Shota's quirk that kept his voice at a manageable level. In the end, they hadn't gotten a puppy. Mr. Teddy Bear, or Teddy, as Hizashi had dubbed him, weighed in at 60 pounds. He was a mutt with shaggy fur that stuck up in all different directions, giving him a fluffed-up appearance. The worker told the couple that Teddy had been abandoned by his owners when he grew too large for their daughter to play with. After hearing that the dog was only a year old and would possibly grow even larger, Shouta decided that Teddy was not the dog for them, or their 2-bedroom apartment. It was obvious that Hizashi had fallen head over heels, though, and Shouta bit back a sigh as he paid the adoption fee. At least his husband was happy. And besides, Teddy couldn't be that bad, right? Teddy was that bad. "Are you kidding me, you mutt?" Shouta huffed out as he pulled his destroyed shoe off of Teddy's bed. "This is the 3rd one, you hear me? Spork and Bastard never destroy shoes." Hizashi frowned, looking put out. "Yeah, they only destroy your body." "They've gotten better about mauling, Hizashi." Ignoring the comment, Hizashi looked up from his laptop and said, "All of the websites are saying that he's just energetic. We need to take him on walks more, or maybe to the dog park. He could at least use some fresh air to play fetch for a while." Shouta should have expected that a dog would be more work than they could handle. Hell, Hizashi had 3 jobs, and Shouta was about to take on a 2nd. Why had Shouta thought that adopting a dog was a good idea? But then Shouta saw how Hizashi looked at Teddy. He saw how the dog cuddled up next to Hisashi when his husband was anxious, or how Teddy licked Hisashi's tears away during their traditional sad movie nights. And in turn, Shouta saw how Teddy looked at Hisashi, the human who had saved him, like he hung the moon and stars. But none of that took away the fact that they were busy as hell. They'd have to divide up who walked Teddy, and Shouta would have to wake up early. Damn. Shouta let loose a heavy sigh, but before he could start speaking, there came a knock at their apartment door. He frowned. They weren't expecting any company, but then again, Namuri had a bit of a habit of forgetting to tell them when she was coming over. When Shouta opened the door, he hadn't expected to see a 4'0" child standing there. The child had a mess of dark curls on their head that shined green in the sunlight peering onto the third-level porch. Their eyes, bright emerald, looked unsure as they fidgeted with an envelope, perhaps mislabeled mail. Maybe about 6 or 7 years old. The kid was tiny. It looked like a slight breeze could bowl them over. Or, it seemed, Shota's 60-some-odd-pound mutt of a dog. "Teddy!" Shouta exclaimed furiously as he watched the dog hover over the child, attacking their freckled face with kisses. The child shrieked happily, mirthful giggles falling from their mouth as they wriggled under the dog, seemingly ticklish. It took a fair bit of Shota's strength to wrench Teddy away from the child, and by then, Hisashi had crossed over to the door and was grinning sheepishly. "Sorry, kiddo," the blonde said, rubbing the back of his neck. "We're still training him. He's got a lot of energy." The child's green eyes lit up like the sun. Seriously, Shouta could feel the heat bouncing off of them. "I could walk him for you," the child chirped, which was a terrible idea. Teddy was 60-something pounds and still growing. This kid looked like they could hardly weigh even that much, all gangly limbs and tiny stature. The only bit of baby fat Shouta could see on them was their rounded cheeks. Shouta opened his mouth to deny the child, right as his husband exclaimed, "That sounds wonderful, kiddo." The kid turned out to be their next-door neighbor, a Midoriya Izuku. Izuku was 8 years old and in the 3rd grade, one of the youngest in his class. He lived with his father, Midoriya Hizashi, who Shouta had yet to find present at home and be able to introduce himself to. Izuku walked Teddy every day before he went to school and every day after he got home. Shouta had been worried it was too much work for the child, getting dragged around by a dog that was quickly growing to be nearly twice his size, but Izuku had convinced the man otherwise. "I like walking Mr. Teddy," Izuku cheered. "He's fluffy, and he doesn't mind me talking about my hero theories with him." Hisashi had asked if Izuku had friends that he was missing out on spending time with, and the boy had flushed darkly and murmured to the floor that he didn't have any friends. Hisashi and Shouta had exchanged a look, but didn't press the issue. Izuku's school life wasn't much of a mystery, what with how much time the boy spent walking Teddy for them. Not to forget the fact that Izuku often came by with scraped knees and hands, dirt on his uniform, and would offhandedly mention missing homework to the 2 pro heroes. Shouta had tried to go next door to express their concerns to Mr. Midoriya, but, once again, the man wasn't home, which was almost even more concerning than the whole school thing. Just how often was Izuku left alone? Hisashi worried time and time again to his husband, which did nothing to help in Shota's own nerves. Finally, one night, about a month into Izuku's new job, Shouta snapped at his husband. "Zashi, we can only do so much, okay? We can let Izuku know he's welcome here any time, but we can't baby or parrot him." Hisashi had pouted but relented. The next morning, when Izuku came by to pick up Teddy, Hisashi had reiterated Shota's first statement to the boy, albeit much more gently. "You know, Izuku, if anything's going on at school or at home, you can talk to us, right? Our door is always open." Izuku had beamed, looking without a care in the world. "Thank you, Mr. Yamada, but I'm okay, really." Hisashi had glanced over at his husband, completely unconvinced. while Shota continued about feeding Spork and Bastard their morning wet food. Okay, Hizashi replied hesitantly. Okay. Mr. Yamada, Izuku chirped happily as he handed over an empty platter. Thank you for the cookies. They were really good. Oh, wow. You and your dad already finished them? Hizashi laughed back, taking the platter and walking towards the kitchen. Izuku was hovering in the entryway, having never really gone past the line between the main hallway adjacent to the door and their living room before. You guys must have really enjoyed them then. I'm glad. Izuku seemed a bit hung up on the first statement, though, looking at the floor and pushing at the edge of the living room rug with his bright red shoes. I didn't really, share them. Izuku, Hizashi teasingly chided. Did you keep those cookies all to yourself? How do you not have a stomachache? I did a little, Izuku murmured. But it wasn't as bad as when I was hungry. I rationed the cookies too. I promise I didn't eat them all in one day. But I needed a lunch to take to school, and we don't have anything at home that I could cook, and Izuku looked up and saw the shocked expression on Hizashi's face, his voice suddenly faltering. I don't... Shota exited the bathroom, having heard the entire exchange, and glanced between his husband and small neighbor. Seeing that Hizashi was still silently panicking, Shota sighed and went to crouch on one knee in front of Izuku, bringing the boy to his eye level. Izuku, Shota spoke evenly, softly, less gruff than he usually did. Does your father buy groceries? Yeah, he does. He does, I promise. I just don't know how to cook with the stuff he brings home. I can make rice, and I can cook grilled cheese, but Dad doesn't bring that kind of stuff home a lot. Let me reiterate, Shota said. Does your father feed you? Yes, Izuku huffed emphatically. Dad brings home chips and stuff with his drinks and stuff, so I eat those most of the time. But he got upset last time I ate the whole bag, so I just ate the cookies Mr. Yamada made this time. Why does Mr. Yamada's face look like that, Mr. Aizawa? Honestly, Shota was having a hard time keeping his own face level, but a quick look to his husband showed that Hisashi was hardly making an effort. The voice hero's face was bright red, his expression a mix of angry and distraught. While Izuku was looking at the floor, Shota shot his husband a glare and signed for him to calm down. Hisashi did so, although only minutely. Izuku, Shota began again, even softer than before. Please let us know if you're hungry, okay? I think Hisashi was going to make some katsudon for dinner. A bold-faced lie, but Shota knew from previous conversation that katsudon was Izuku's favorite, so he'd make a trip to the market for dinner. So we'll send some home with you after school, okay? And for lunch, Hisashi suddenly blustered. Quickly ransacking their kitchen, Hisashi made quick work of some leftovers and more than a few snacks, shoving them into his own lunch sack before racing into the hallway and handing said sack over to the little boy standing in their doorway. Please take this. I'll make sure to cook up some extra tonight so that you have lunch for tomorrow too, and you'll have to tell me what foods you like so I can make more. Shota's eyes fell on Izuku once more, and he winced when he saw that the child's radiant green eyes were filling with tears. Izuku sniffled, and just when Shota thought that the boy was going to reject Hisashi's lunchbox, the child took the sack with a damp, dismal smile. Thank you, Mr. Yamada, Izuku murmured. But I can't take all of your food. Hisashi's face melted into a fond, sad smile. It's really nothing, kiddo. Please. I'd feel much better if you'd help us not let all our extra food go to waste, yeah? Izuku still looked hesitant, but seemed a bit more open to the idea when Hisashi laid it out as being helpful. Okay, Mr. Yamada. Thank you very much. Hisashi reached forward to ruffle Izuku's hair, and the boy's flinch didn't go unnoticed to either pro hero. Please, Izuku, call me Hisashi. or Zashi. Either way works. Okay, Mr. Zashi. Hisashi rolled his eyes, subtly kicking at his husband's crouched form. And call this one Shouta, yeah? Mr. Shouta, Izuku nodded in agreement. Shouta snorted a bit, and Hisashi groaned. You're too polite, kiddo, Hisashi bemoaned to the ceiling. You're so adorable. Izuku blushed deeply, and Shouta quickly went about gathering Teddy's harness and leash, handing them over to Izuku. We can hold on to your lunch until you two get back. Just don't forget it, okay, Izuku? Yes, sir, Mr. Shouta. When Izuku and Teddy left, Hisashi clung to his husband like a leech, fighting back tears and whispering, Is he safe, Shouta? Shouta couldn't answer. Alright, everybody. With that, Chapter 1 comes to a close. This is, again, from Life is Rough, but I'm so fortunate to have met you. Thank you all for listening. I really hope you guys enjoyed it. I know Dad Mike and Dad Zawa fics always have a place in my heart, and I can never read enough of them, especially when there's a baby Izuku involved. That just, you know what I mean. If you're reading this, you know exactly what I mean. But anyways, you guys, don't hesitate to leave your thoughts on this chapter below, and don't forget to like and subscribe, stay tuned for the next chapter.